In this video, I am on page 5 of the textbook. This is a much longer passage that we have to break down, so it's going to be more difficult than our butterfly passages. I also did not give you a memory piece for this one because I'm going to show you how to draw one just to fit the needs that you have. So let's read this passage, and as I read through it, I'm going to highlight some things. Now, you don't have to use highlighters if you don't like them, but I'm going to use some here. It says, read the passage, then answer questions 1 through 3. Today, there is a lot of buzz about electric cars. It seems that they are the latest fad. But the electric car is not a new idea. Electric cars were developed in the late 1800s. In the early 1900s, they became popular in the United States. In fact, electric cars outsold other types of cars in 1900. Okay, so this is telling me that electric cars, that would be part of my topic, but what about them? Electric cars were not or are not a new idea. Electric cars have been around for a long time. 1900, that's over 100 years. Paragraph 2. Electric cars were more popular than gasoline cars in the early 1900s for a few reasons. Electric cars were easy to start and drive. They were clean and they were quiet. On the other hand, early gasoline cars were loud, dirty, and hard to drive. Drivers had to hand crank them to start the engine. Drivers also had to change gears while driving. So in the early 1900s, electric cars were more popular than gasoline cars for several reasons. There were lots of reasons that made people want to buy the electric cars. By the 1920s, the number of electric cars started to decline or decrease. Here's a good point about a prefix. The prefix D, DE, means to drop, fall, decline. By 1935, there were very few on the road. There were several reasons for this. First, electric cars could not travel far. They could go only about 18 miles. As roads got better, people wanted to take long road trips. Second, electric starters made gasoline cars easier to start. They no longer had to be hand cranked. Third, Henry Ford began mass producing gasoline cars, so the price of gasoline cars dropped. Last, gasoline was cheap and easy to get. So this paragraph is telling me that by the 20s, the number of cars, electric cars, started to decline. And the last paragraph. Today, electric cars are making a comeback. Many car companies make hybrid or all-electric cars. In fact, there were more than 20 2018 models of electric cars for sale in the United States. So electric cars are making a comeback. Let's look at this word hybrid for just a minute. This is a good practice of using definitions. What does hybrid mean? Well, it says that many car companies make hybrid or all electric cars. So hybrid is the opposite of all electric, which means that it would be part electric. It's part gasoline and part electric. So you can drive a hybrid either way. You can put gas in it or you can charge it, as opposed to all electric cars. So if there are words that you don't know, figure them out before you try to dissect the paragraphs. If there are words you don't know, look them up. On a test, I know you can't do that. You need to have a good vocabulary before you go to the test. But if you're doing this self-study type of thing, take the time to look up words you don't know. That's how you get a good vocabulary. Okay, let's do a mind map of this passage. Now, I have highlighted the main ideas, and I'm going to put a box. I want you to do this with me. Just draw a box in the center of your page. And this is where we are going to put the topic in 2 words. What's the topic of this whole story? What is this whole story about? If you had to give it a title with 2 words, electric cars. So let's use that as our topic. Now, what is the author trying to tell me about electric cars? That's the main idea of this passage. And this needs to be a sentence. So I'm going to hold off on the main idea for just a minute. Okay, let's just leave that space blank. Now, I want you to take your pencil or pen, and I want you to draw some legs on this table. It's very similar to the flower foldable thing that we did. But if you don't have one of those flower things, you can do it this way. This will work just fine. And it doesn't matter which spoke you start on. I'm going to start right here, but it doesn't matter. Okay, the first paragraph, paragraph 1, and let me just come back and number these. This is the symbol for paragraph. Paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and paragraph 4. That corresponds to those 4 spokes that are coming off that square. So here's paragraph 1. I'm going to write the main idea sentence. The electric car, and I am going to abbreviate, is not a new idea. Okay, so let's list some reasons for that. They were first developed in the late 1800s. And just in case you're thinking, where's she getting all this stuff? It's from the passage. Let's go back up here just a minute. They were developed in the late 1800s. In the early 1900s, they, meaning electric cars, they became popular in the United States. They outsold other types of cars in 1900. So let's put those details down here. Early 1900s, they were popular in the US. Again, I am not using correct sentence structure. That's not what this is about. It's about me understanding what I read. They outsold other cars in 1900. So I've sort of done a little diagram within a diagram. I have taken paragraph 1 and I've put that over here, and I've broken down those details in paragraph 1. And I'm going to use the green color to highlight. I'll match those up for you to my passage. And the yellow is a main idea of paragraph 1. Okay, let's do paragraph 2. So I'm going to come down to the second spoke, and I'm going to copy that main idea sentence. EC, electric cars, were more popular. These are the only times that I will write the whole sentence. More popular than gasoline in 1900 for a few, reasons. This is the kind of main idea I love. When it says for a few reasons or for several reasons or anything like that, I know exactly that that is my main idea because I'm going to list those reasons as my details. So let's go back to the passage. Let me get a highlighter and let's pull out those details. Let's see what we really are dealing with here. Okay, first reason, they were easy to start and drive. They were clean and they were quiet. Gasoline cars were loud, dirty, and hard to drive. They had to be hand cranked, and drivers had to change gears. So let's pull this down to our thing here. First reason, electric cars, I'm going to say EC, were easy to start and drive. I'm going to show you a little trick here. Rather than start another point, I'm just going to keep this one going. They were clean, quiet. On the other hand, GC, gasoline cars, were loud, dirty, hard to drive. They had to be hand cranked, and that was not easy to do to get them started. And you had to change gears while driving. So they were straight shift cars. Okay, so let's look at what we have here. Main idea. Electric cars were more popular than gas cars for a few reasons. What are those reasons? Electric cars were easy to start and drive, clean and quiet. Gasoline cars were loud, dirty, hard to drive, hand crank, and change gears. So there's paragraph 2. We're getting there, folks. This is a harder passage because there's just more of it. All right, here's paragraph 3. Now this one is a long one, but we don't have to recopy it. We're just pulling out bare bones here. Don't feel like you have to write every word. Okay, the numbers started to decline. There were very few on the road in 35. Here's the good thing. There were several reasons for this. First, electric cars could not travel far, only about 18 miles. People wanted to take longer trips. Electric starters made gasoline cars easier to start. They no longer had to be hand cranked. Henry Ford mass-produced gasoline cars, so the price dropped. And believe it or not, gasoline was cheap and easy to get. So this paragraph is talking about the number of electric cars began to decline. Paragraph 3. By the 1920s, the number of electric cars, I'm just going to say EC, began to decline. And I believe they gave us 4 reasons. Reason number 1, electric cars could only travel 18 miles. People wanted to go further than that. Second, electric starters were developed. Um, so gasoline cars were easier to start. Okay. Third reason, Henry Ford, began mass producing. He began factory production. And so what did that do to the price of gasoline cars? The price dropped. Gasoline cars were cheaper. And gas was easy to get. It was cheap and easy to find. Okay, so those are the reasons for that decline in the electric cars. And I highlighted this one in blue. All right, we have one more paragraph here. And that is very short. It's paragraph 4. It says, today electric cars are making a comeback. So let's explain that a little bit more. What do they mean by that? Let's go here and let me get a highlighter and I'll highlight that for you. Many car companies make hybrid or all-electric cars. More than 20 2018 models of electric cars were on sale in the United States. So, a lot of our companies are doing hybrid. Remember, that's a mix of gas and electric, or all electric cars. And in 2018, there were over 20, that's more than 20, over 20 electric cars to choose from in America. So that's definitely a sign that they are becoming more popular. And you might be thinking they're also good for the environment, better for the environment. But that is not in the passage, so I don't want to put it in my diagram. All right, we have one more thing to do, and that's to go back to the main idea of the passage. This is a summary of the passage. What is the entire passage trying to tell me? I'm going to say that electric cars, actually, let me erase that. I'm sorry. I was thinking of starting out, remember, with my summary, I always start out with the who or the what. But this is really the history of electric cars. The history of electric cars, and that could even become my topic, has varied. This is not the best way to say this, but I can't think of another way, so I'm going to go with this. For more than 100 years. Something like that. Because it hasn't been the same all this time. It was popular, then it wasn't, now it is. It's gone back and forth. And remember, your summary has to include all of this. Whatever you put right here has to include the big picture in a condensed form. Okay? Now, I'm going to make a copy since we went to all the trouble of doing this lovely picture. This is called a mind map, and you can draw them as complicated as you want or as simple as you want. I strongly encourage you to use highlighters to practice this. That will help you get this process down. You see how the mind map relates back to the story, that it's very structured and it pulls information from the story. That is so important. You can't put anything in here if it isn't in here. They have to match up exactly. Okay, so here are the questions that are at the bottom of page 5. And I tried, for some reason it's not allowing me. I'm getting a little bit worried about my iPad, guys, because it's just behaving very oddly. Okay, there's the mind map that we created. Now let's answer the questions. Number 1, what is the main idea of the first paragraph? Here it is. So I'm going to take a picture of this. I want to show you how amazingly well this works. And I'm going to paste it right here. Okay, so let's see which one of ours matches. Now remember, I didn't look at the questions. I just did this from my own memory. The electric car is not a new idea. Look at this. Do you see it? Hopefully you do. It's word for word what we came up with. B is the answer here. What is the main idea of the second paragraph? Okay, will this work? Is it word for word? Whoa, it'll work if I can make it. Electric cars were more popular than gas cars for a few reasons. So this is not word for word, but I see the answer I'm looking for. There were several reasons electric cars were more popular than gasoline cars. It's right here. It's not verbatim, it's not word for word, but it's close enough that I know the answer. I know what I'm looking for. And that's what comprehension's about. This is the long way around, but this is how you learn to read. Okay, number 3. Which is the best summary of the passage? Not of a paragraph, but of the whole passage. And for that one, I'm going to look right here. I'm going to copy that main idea. Now remember, I didn't read my questions first. Some teachers tell you to do that. It's not a bad idea if you want to do that. But we're looking for the one that is closest to. The history of electric cars has varied for more than 100 years. Okay, let's take a look. Electric cars were popular in the early 1900s. They started to decline when gasoline cars became more affordable. Early electric cars were clean, quiet, and easy to drive. They could travel about 18 miles. Today, many car companies make hybrid or all-electric cars. I'm going to eliminate this one because it doesn't mention gasoline cars. So we're not going to use B. Electric cars are not a new idea. First developed in the 1800s, they were popular in the early 1900s. In the 1920s, they started to decline. Today, electric cars are making a comeback. Okay, that one sounds good to me. Let's put that one on the back burner. Electric cars outsold other types of cars in 1900. Early gasoline cars were dirty, loud, and hard to drive. Early electric cars did not go far, but they were clean, quiet, and easy to drive. Okay, this one also, all of these are true. All of these are using facts from the story. I'm going to eliminate D because of this. It does not mention the return of electric cars. Let's look at A. Electric cars were popular in the 1900s. They started to decline when gasoline became more affordable. That one would be good except for one thing. It does not mention the return of electric cars. Okay, I want to go back to B just a minute. I'm still leaving B off the table. The answer is C, but I need to tell you a little bit more about why it's not B. I said because there's no mention of gasoline. Well, there's no mention of gasoline in my summary either. So that's really not the best rationale for this. So let's don't erase it, but let's mark it out. This one doesn't mention, how would I say this? This is what I want to say. Better that it's not about the gasoline, it's about this. B does not mention popularity. B tells me facts that are true, but it doesn't talk about how electric cars were popular and then they weren't and now they are. It doesn't talk about the variance in the history of the cars. C does that because look at what it does. It mentions the 1800s, the early 1900s, the 1920s, and today. So it's walking me through the history of the electric cars. And I'm going to go with that as my answer. Now, you might be thinking, why in the world did she go through all of that when I can just read the passage and find the answer? If you can read the passage and find the answer, you probably don't need this course. You've probably already learned the skills that you need to find the answer. So if you're bored with this video, and that's okay if you are, that means that this is probably too easy for you. And you can definitely fast forward through the videos. You can just do the questions and check your answers. However you want to do that is fine. This is breaking it down for folks who need that help. They need to learn how to break down and do comprehension. So I know this is a lot of work for a little bitty passage, but as you build those reading skills, that's going to help you immeasurably to read more complicated things. Okay, in our next video, we will be looking at a brand new skill. It's actually not brand new. It sort of piggybacks on this one. We're going to be focusing on details, which are these pieces in the flaps. These kinds of things are the details. Not this part, but in those little pieces of information that are so important. So I'll see you soon, and I hope you have a really good day. Bye-bye.